Okay, I think that we can start off the meeting now. So once again, let me welcome everyone to this training. This is the third day of Resco Field Service 2.0 training. I'm Maciej Wanik and I've been with Resco for over 3 years now. I'm a support specialist. Just to go quickly, I would like to introduce again our team who has been cooperating together on preparing of these trainings. Special thanks to Ivan Stanyo for his insightful and I believe also enjoyable two presentations that took part over the last 2 days. For those who couldn't attend, you should be able to find the videos, the recordings on our YouTube channel. Just to cover very quickly what Ivan has been talking about in the last 2 days, it was mostly about the concept of what is Field Service 2.0, what does it mean to us, and what we can offer you with Field Service 2.0. And then it was a presentation on some of the very useful Resco features, such as Resco inspections, reports, or routes, or even the general UI and mobile project configuration. Today we are going to focus on how Resco mobile application compares to the Power application. The special focus will be given on the offline mode and on how both applications are processing and working with the data in a typical field service scenario. So let's kick it off. Just from the agenda, one thing I would like to highlight is that I will present the results of testings that we did here at Resco, and this will be included in the second half of this training. And I imagine a lot of you are looking forward to what we found out. So let's start. Let's just answer one really basic question, that is, what is it offline? Because we use this term all the time, but what does offline really means in terms of a field service solution? This I would like to answer with one example, and just imagine that you are a field service technician who is working most of the day in the field, and often you do not have any internet connection. However, you do depend on the data, for example, the appointments and the information about the work orders that you have scheduled for today, but also information about the accounts or contacts and products and so on. And all of this information is actually stored at the Dynamics 365, which is a cloud and somewhere at the Microsoft server. So if you are outside of the town, or for instance in a garage, it's very hard to rely on the internet, because it's very often it's it's not stable, and the connection, if it goes out, you just don't have the data and you basically cannot work. You actually lose the freedom to work as you would like. So that's why offline, because you can work obviously without the internet connection. But to go a bit deeper, what does the offline concept do? It actually creates a projection of the server database. There's the big database at the server, which can be a few terabytes of data, and then there is a projection of the database where you select which entities, which fields, and which records do you want available at the mobile device, and then these entities will be available for the user, for the technician in the field without internet. So that's the main point. One important thing that I would like to note right away is that it's very important to think when designing the offline database to think about the limited resources of the device, which is it doesn't have the processing power, storage, or the memory which is accessible on the server. So this has to be taken into the account. On the other hand, I would also like to introduce the more common, the online concept. The online basically means that the application needs to communicate with the server directly whenever you need to open a form or open a view or update some data. Each such action has to be sent to the server. The server needs to access the data at the server database, and then it will send a response back to the device. So, and all of this has to be performed in real time. This is the another big advantage of the offline concept, because at offline all the data sits directly at the device, so you do not have to access the server, because I have seen some scenarios where when opening a simple form could produce as much as 50 requests, and this will result in a delay of loading, maybe even for 10 or 20 seconds. So offline sounds pretty good, right? But it comes with some really hard challenges, which is that you need to, as I already mentioned, you need to keep the local database lean and as small as possible to only contain what the technician actually needs for his day-to-day work. It's sometimes very hard to design it the right way. This will of course also impact how the synchronization will perform. It can be a huge difference if the technician has to wait for the synchronization for 1 minute or for 30 minutes, and it also shows if the technician is then satisfied with the solution or not. If he, for example, if he's glad to work with such application, it's a huge advantage if he does. Next point is the security. So you also need to think about the encryption of the database at the offline. And the last very important point is that you want to have some control over the changes. So what user did what changes to the data, and also if some problems occur, you want to be able to address these problems and to in the first place to know about them, because they can happen somewhere in the field, right? Okay, so let's jump into the next section. Oh, just a few notes. I have been inspired by Ivan, and I also included a lot of links to further documentation. So this presentation is or should be attached to this webinar, so you can download it, and you can refer to these links if anything is after that. If anything is not clear, please don't hesitate to contact me or Resco support. And right away to the next section, we're gonna have a quick overview of both application, just at the high level mode. Okay, so Resco has been developing mobile offline solution for more than 10 years now. Our primary goal is obviously to provide smooth experience for the user, and our application can work in offline mode or in online mode. The technicians are able to switch between these two modes. For example, if the technician is at the office for the day, he can just switch to online mode and don't think about synchronization at all. The synchronization can be triggered either manually, or it could be done as automatic, or you could also set the synchronization to be triggered when any data is changed, so it would be uploaded right away. Resco UI looks something like this. I think that Ivan went into enough deep of this over the last 2 days, so I would just like to note that you can see that the design is meant to be used on a mobile device. You can see that all the data is arranged effectively to display as much information on one display as possible. And another note I would like to add is that Resco has supports several third-party apps configuration. One of them is SharePoint, so you can use alternative way of storing documents at SharePoint, and on synchronization, the documents will be directly uploaded to SharePoint, so you don't have to. You can get advantage of that cheaper storage at SharePoint as compared to Dynamics 365. Okay, next is the new Microsoft Power Apps. The Power Apps have been around for some years, and there's a lot of functionality about them. The mobile application basically shares most of this, and it's very similar to the browser-based application. So it was initially developed as fully online, but now the offline can be enabled in the application designer at the Power Apps platform. And another note I would like to add is that the unified interface is there, so the same thing that you would see on the browser, what you would see also in the mobile application. This is the application designer, so it's basically the same. This is a screenshot that I made when I did the testing. You can see that I used the components, the default one for Field Service Mobile, and just down here I enabled the mobile offline, and I assigned the offline profile, which we are going to talk about later on. And this is the UI. You can see that there's very little difference compared to the browser-based version of Power Apps. Okay, let's move on to the third chapter. This will be more technical, but again, don't hesitate to ask any questions. Me or my colleagues will for sure be able to answer any questions that you would have. I'm going to first talk about Resco and then about the Power Apps. And about Resco, I would divide this into two parts. One part will be about the configuration and settings that are available, and I will do a short demo on these. And in the second part, I will talk about the reporting and tracking tools that Resco offers for both the application and the backend. And I will also do a short demo on these. And then we will do basically the same or check for the same at the Power Apps. So let's start. Let's start with synchronization. Synchronization that is something that I know very well as a support specialist here at Resco, because we tend to help a lot with synchronization and performance optimizations with our customers. So this is the core process of Resco functionality. It has been evolving over the past 10 years, and we really picked up a lot of problems that we encountered on the way. The sync as it is, the default synchronization action, has many built-in analytics and optimization tricks which help a lot with the synchronization. As I say, it has improved maybe 10 times the speed went up 10 times over the years. But there are also multiple possibility to alter the sync algorithms based on your organization, because we know that each organization, each project, each data model needs a little bit different approach, and sometimes even very different approach. Yes, so the synchronization basically consists of the download process, where the data is retrieved from the server. This is based on the projection that we defined in the mobile project. So again, the entities, the fields, and the records. And based on the volume of the data, this actually very affects how the synchronization will perform. So again, you need to keep that in mind to keep this effective. You don't want 10 gigabytes of data in the application, or you don't even need. Then there is the sync upload. The sync upload basically takes the local changes, and at synchronization it will upload them back to Dynamics 365, and it also has to deal with any conflicts or errors that could occur on the way when the data is created or updated in Dynamics 365. This is basically just a screenshot of how the sync configuration and offline data for entity looks like in our configuration tool Woodford, and I will talk maybe more about this in the demo, so you could see that in action. Just a few words here. The synchronization setup, as I said, you can see on this screenshot part of the configuration settings regarding offline data synchronization that are available at Resco. These have been really added throughout the years based on real customer problems. Some of them are highly specific, but they make difference. Especially, I would like to add that we support shared records or records shared through access teams. For very big organizations where there needs to be a lot of data downloaded, we even support such things as defining the cache size and paging per entity of the download process, and how the whole web request will be defined. And also the upload and download order. All of this could be defined differently for a Windows machine where there is much more memory, and differently for example, iOS machine. Okay, so let's just start with the demo now. I would like to just quickly show you how this setup looks like in our mobile project configuration. So here I can see the list of all entities that are available at this organization, and I can enable any of them for the mobile project, and then it will be included into the projection in the offline database. I can use this button to now only show me the entities that are actually now enabled. For example, let's take account. These are the fields which will be then reflected. That's the second layer, and I can see that currently only 33 of in total 170 fields are selected. So for this project, I only need the 33 fields, and I don't need to access any of the rest. So this is very important to keep the data lean, as and save space, save performance, save web traffic. As far as we know, Microsoft Dynamics app does not support this field level configuration. It would just do maybe all, maybe some bigger set. We don't know it. It's a black box at this point. Resco also supports permissions, as you can see here on the right, per level of field, also per level of the whole entity. You can define if the entity will be available in the project, but only in online mode, or it should be, or if it should be also downloaded to the offline and online. You could use different synchronization algorithms, which could be used for some specific use cases. I've seen customers where this setting made the difference between 2 minutes and 10 minutes synchronization, so it really applies. It's very useful to have these options. Also, we support creating custom indexes for the offline database. This is some also high-level setting, and I think most of you know this very well. This is the synchronization filter, so I can define, for example, that only active accounts should be downloaded into the offline database. For some more complex entity, let's take Bookable booking, the filters could look like this. I only want the bookings based on some time frame and relations to other entities. All right, let's move on with the presentation, and here are again the further readings. Resco Wiki has very rich resources in regards of our synchronization process, so I really encourage you to check these out. Moving on to the synchronization problems. There's a lot of types of the problems that could happen. Very common are conflicts, as I said, or upload errors, or authentication errors, web errors, permissions, privileges errors, you can imagine. And then the question is, how can the admin be notified about such errors, or even the user, the technician, how he will know about them, and what can be done if such error happens, to investigate the reasons why it happened, and to make sure that it will not happen in the future again. So Resco offers a wide set of tools for both the application and for the backend. We'll go through them. So in the application is the storage analyzer, which gives you options to perform high-level analysis of the data which is currently synced in the offline database. It will give you the number of rows and how much memory they take, the empty entities, the information about the notes, the documents that you have, and much more. So this could be really used to investigate further and to fine-tune the whole process. Another very useful and commonly used is the synchronization log. Basically, each synchronization will produce a synchronization log, which will be saved in the application in this text format, and this can be then sent to the admin, or also it could be automatically set to be updated on the server. In the synchronization log, you can find the number of records of each entity which was downloaded. You can find information about the uploads, about how much time each part of the synchronization took. So for example, here I can see that the synchronization took 5 seconds, or 5,000 milliseconds if you want, in total, and the upload took 200 milliseconds. All this information can be very useful when finding the root cause if the performance is not so good. This is the synchronization dashboard. This is one of the backend based tools, and I will talk more about this in demo, and also about the device control and the mobile audit. The mobile audit basically is used exactly for what I already noted. When the admin needs to know about who, when, changed what records. So you can just set up the offline auditing, and all of this information will be stored, and you can then access this information on the server. And also, if you include the GPS positions, you can see this on a map, and there are some other options, It's very useful. I've seen it in action many times. Okay, so let's check out the second part of the demo I have prepared, and it's the sync dashboard. This looks pretty cool, right? Okay, so this synchronization dashboard just shows you information about the synchronization events of different users. This is one of our backend servers, so this is mostly me and my colleague Timotej and Marek and also Jan, and I can see all of the synchronization, when they happened, how much time they consumed, how much records were actually sent or received from the application. I can check then the synchronization log with more details for each of these synchronizations. So for example, for this one, I can see that these records have been created and uploaded to the server. I can see that these records were downloaded. Well, one account was changed, so it was downloaded right here. It's right here. Right here I have a view. This is currently defined from August to now. I can see that in total there were 237 synchronization events in total. 15 of them resulted in error, 20 of them resulted in warnings, and 3 of them resulted in conflicts. So over the time, imagine that you are just starting a new project. You have 200 users and you want to know, did everybody synced successfully? It's very hard to know if you don't have a tool such as this. You would have to ask each user, and if there is some error, you need to know like what happened, why it happened, what should I do to not make it happen again. And synchronization dashboard is just the tool for this. Another thing that I would like to show you is the remote conflict resolution. So the conflict is something that happens when the same record, for example, a work order, is updated both on the device in the offline and on the server. Then when the synchronization comes, the system has to decide what version will be used. Will they use the server version or device version? Mostly, and this is also the only setting possible for Power Apps, that you say that always take the server version or always take the device version. But Resco also provides this remote conflicts resolution. So I set up one conflict right here. I can see that this synchronization from today at 11 from Matej resulted with one conflict, and I can check the conflicts, like what were the changed values, and I can then decide specifically for this conflict which version should be used. No data will be lost. It's very effective. Maybe just a few more notes. Resco also does these warning messages, which will warn you also about, and also tips about how the synchronization should be improved, because as I said, they are built-in tools that are analyzing the sync on go and providing information for you to fine-tune this synchronization. So for example, I can search now for warnings or for tips, and also filter by user. I can also switch to day view or to device view to see this data per day. And this is now loading the data for the last 3 months, so it took a while, but I can take any specific day and see what synchronization were done at that specific day. There were some conflicts, error, etc. Okay, moving on. Now the Power Apps. So the Power Apps, you can see that's a very nice UI in Dynamics in the Power Platform Admin Center. Here is the part where I would like to talk about how this works, this whole customization process, Dynamics. So Dynamics field service basically uses mobile offline profiles. You can define a profile which will where you can set what entities will be available for this profile, and then you can assign users to this profile. And in the last step, as you have seen previously, you will assign this profile to a specific application. So for example, this profile that I created, it's the field service mobile profile. I included these entities. For each entity, I can use a custom filter, which is something very similar to the sync filters in Resco, but Microsoft also provides these preset filters, so only give me related records. So then there is no need to go on with this more complex filtering. You just check all records of my organization or related. You can you can set the relationships here, and that setup is very effective, very user friendly. And you can also set the sync interval, as I said at Dynamics. You cannot, or let's say it this way, the synchronization is not directly dependent on user action. The application will try to sync in the preset intervals, and this interval can be set individually for each entity. So for example, if you want to update the products only once a week, but you want to update the work orders every hour or something like that. So that's also pretty useful. On the other hand, there is not much options about the sync, download, offline data. As I said, we are also missing the fields which I want to include per account and such settings. So we'll see how this will affect the performance, or how we assume, that's better said. This is another screenshot from the Power Apps based application. This is not directly shown to the user. You have to go to the menu and specifically to the offline section, and then there you can see how many records of which entity are currently downloaded, when was the last sync date, and also the current state. So current state is now downloading updates. Okay, and now let's get to the core of this training. Yes, so how to say it? It's very easy, actually. We at Resco, we have seen that Microsoft is releasing this new application where the offline is enabled, and I imagine similarly to many of you, we were curious how will actually this application perform, because we are aware of all of the work that needs to be done in our application regarding the offline model. So we were wondering how would the Microsoft solution perform in a similar scenario. So what we wanted to do was that we set up one organization, and we tried to make the customization as similar as possible. So we selected the same set of entities for both the Resco project and the Power Apps project. We preset the same sync filters, so we would have in total the same number of records that will be synced to each device, to each application, and we run these tests for both Android and for iOS, and we observed and measured what were the results. I would just like to know that 1.7 million records, that's probably one of the larger organization. A typical organization could have somewhere between 300,000 and 1 million records in the offline. Yes, so but we wanted to really see the application under pressure a bit. because after time always the database will grow, the performance will go down. So we wanted to see this. Okay, so this shows some of our measurements. This was the first synchronization when we just set up the application and started to synchronize. You can see always here in the left column the Resco and in the right Power Apps. So the synchronization time, that's the first measurement. This 1.7 million records took 33 minutes in Resco, and on Android, 27 on iPad. On Power Apps, this was 4 times as much. It was 130 minutes, and while the syncing, the application crashed maybe 7 or 8 times, and we had to restart it so the synchronization would continue. On iPad, actually, the crashing was so bad that at one point it just crashed right away after the application was started, and we had to uninstall the application. It was not usable with this much data. Another point which was very surprising to us is the storage taken. As I said, the same set of data, the Power Apps took almost twice as much storage on the device. So we don't know where this comes from. Maybe the redundant fields or the fact that all the fields are included. Maybe some bad kind of indexing. We don't know. So it's just a black box again. Okay, and just one note about the speed. We at Resco, we like to measure the download performance with this milliseconds per record, and the standard for Resco, we try to keep it at 1 millisecond per record. But what we saw at Power Apps, it was again 4 times as much. So compared to what we are used to in our application, this is considered very slow download. Just to conclude these findings a little bit, what we measured is that the Power Apps lacks significantly in overall performance, and especially with large sets of data. I would just like to note again that if you have like 500 records, the UI is nice. The application may function well, but as soon as real live data comes into play, it's very hard for it to keep up to Resco. Yes. Another note maybe that the RAM management, it peaked at 125 gigabytes. This is extreme to me. I cannot understand how an application could use that much for the synchronization. Well, for comparison, Resco uses like 20 megabytes at the same default setting, but this could be actually also preset in our advanced settings, so you can preset it differently for each device. And yes, so this also makes difference. And the last point is the customization. So when I try to make the sync filters in Power Apps different, what I saw that the next synchronization actually seemed to delete all the data and download it back again, and it took even more than the initial sync. So this was really again surprising to us, this finding. At Resco, the customization usually when it's updated, usually the user doesn't even notice. The second part of the page, the second page is that the user experience. So the management of the data is seen here as well. So opening of some forms and lists was very delayed, and the application went unresponsive even for minutes in some cases. And as I already said, it crashed regularly. And but one of the biggest advantages of Resco that we saw here is that in Power Apps we have no information about the error. Like when some error happens, we do not know what was the cause, how to prevent this, why this happened, or anything. It will just crash or pop up with an error occurred, and there's also no tools for the admin to find out that some errors occurred on the device. He would just have to guess or wait for an email. Also, there are no options for fine-tuning the customization. The setup is very nice and smooth, but if you want to resolve some kind of errors, or if you face some performance issues, there's basically nothing for you. The whole process is a black box for both the user and the admin, and you just have to rely on that the one default algorithm is good and will perform good in your case. And again, when you are using this system for a year, and some more users will join, will the application actually be able to work if the data is if the data volume is increased, right? So this is just some kind of example. In this case, I don't know why the application just couldn't complete the download. No information. So this was confusing, right? Another point here. I was loading my activities, and for some reason, this is what I got. Tapping the view details gave me nothing. It was unresponsive and again very confusing. I'll just maybe try, because I'm not sure how it will behave this time. It's different each time. I'll try to do a short demo on the actual usage of the application. So here we have the field service. I'm opening it right now. Just know this is iPad. Okay, we're now waiting for it to load. Here's some kind of error. It's no longer there. Okay, now we are at the main page. Okay, it's now working. And for example, let's check accounts. I now clicked on the accounts view. It's now loading. Okay, here we go. Try to open this first one. Oh, misclick. Now it's opening. Okay, the form is loaded, but data is still being loaded. So here. Okay, nice. And just one point that I maybe forgot is that at Resco you can have as much forms opened and on top of each other as you want, but here you can only have one. It's based on the tabs, I would say, as in a browser, and you can always have only one. So if I now open this one, it will ask me to discard or keep the changes on the actual form as this one. The account form will be closed. So let's do it. Now the other form is being loaded. Okay. And if I now want to go back, the account form is not there anymore. It has to be reloaded. So for like quick work with these forms, it will need to be loaded every time. Okay, so now the account form is loading again. Yes. Oh. Okay. Now I wanted to go out. Okay, now it's working. And let's check here. You can see in the left bottom, left hand bottom corner, there's the offline information. I just clicked it, but it's somewhere. It's hard to load. Now it's not responding. Sorry. yeah, it's really hard to rely on this application in these scenarios. It's even when I was preparing for the demo, now it crashed, and I really I did nothing else than I tried to open the offline. Okay, so now the application is loading again the error, and again I'm just using the default custom component of the field service, nothing special. And actually I would like to also know that here at the iPad I do not have that 1.7 million. There is just like maybe 600,000 records. Okay, so now it couldn't even load the initial form. It's empty. I'll try to restart it again, but last time this happened I had to actually restart the whole device. So let's hope I could continue with the demo for 1 minute more. Let's hope it will load. Yeah. Take a deep breath. No, I think this is the issue from before. It's somehow stuck at this point, and I would have to restart the device. So I think I would just conclude with my last slide actually, and then we are going to do the questions and answers. So the main message that I would like to share with this meeting is that think in advance. Like the real difference that will be made with using Resco or Power Apps is the amount of data and how many users will use it and how complex the solution will be. So for example, if the technicians rely on the work with the application the whole day, it really means something. And if they need a large set of data, if they need to spend a lot of time offline, that really means something, and this should be considered. Also, I would like to add that we have a partner who had a similar testing with the data, and the results were very similar. So it's not just us. And I would also like to encourage you that if you will do the testing, try to use a real volume of data. So for example, for some organizations of 10 or 15 people, it could be okay, but for organizations with 50, it will be not usable at all. So it's important to test not just the UI and the usability, but also how will the application work with the data. Okay, again, further readings, and that's the end of my presentation. We can now go on with the questions. Question is a very good one. It's from Mohammed. Where can he enable the sync dashboard? And because there's no data available actually at his sync dashboard, so I can show you right away. It has to do with that mobile auditing that I've been talking about. So here in the project, in mobile auditing, you have to check just this checkbox, and then it will work. This will make sure that the synchronization events are not just stored on the device, but as also sent to the server. Okay, and next question is whether the conflict can be resolved on the device as well. And yes, it can. You can decide whether the admin, or better said, either the admin on the backend or the user in his device, both can see the conflict and both can resolve it. Next question is whether there is any capability of the application to provide an estimate of the size of data that will be downloaded for offline use. So this is a hard to answer question maybe. It really depends, because you can never know prior how much the database will actually take. As we saw, it could take 2 times as much on the Power Apps, and we do not know why. But with Resco, you have that tool, that storage analyzer. So what I would recommend to do is just to set up some basic project for testing, do the first sync, and then run the storage analyzer. The storage analyzer will tell you exactly what is the heavy entity, what is really making the impact, and from then you can go on and fine-tune the synchronization. Yes, and as I said, Resco support is always available to help with this. Next question is whether you should create internal indexes or if they will be created by default. So Resco is creating the most used indexes, and this should cover most of the situations. But for some especially big tables where there are some custom fields used, you could also define custom indexes. So this is the special functionality that Resco provides. Yeah, and we just got maybe just a remark, and maybe partly something that I wanted to include as well, that Resco also provides application for Windows device. So this is also something that's missing for the Power Apps solution. And what Windows is actually very good at is doing this analytics, because on Windows you can see better how the folder is structured, what is contained, and etc. So this is very good for investigation. And there is another question from Casper, is that Microsoft says that they will no longer support the Resco version of Field Service by summer 22. Yes, so Microsoft has been for the past, I don't know, maybe 5 years, the customers who wanted to use mobility, they were using a Resco-based application, and now Microsoft wants them to switch to this new application. And the question is whether Resco will continue to support existing customers. So for sure we would like to. That's maybe a better question for Ivan. It was included in the first webinar. At Resco Field Service 2.0 is basically about Resco enabling these customers to go on with this solution, which has been proven to work, and to also where their customizations were already done, so they have already invested some money and effort in this. Yes, so the time is almost up. So if there are no more questions, we can close this. I thank you everyone for attending, and if there will be any more questions, just don't hesitate and send us an email. We'll be glad to answer. Thanks.
Matej, if I can stop you for a moment, just to add one more thing. We already have some customers that already transitioned from the Microsoft Field Service mobile application
Yes.
based on Resco into the full field service 2.0 scenario using Resco, including inspections and other modules. So this has already been done. It's proved that it's working, and we are very welcome to invite anyone to join the club as well.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Lucas, and goodbye, everyone.